If you listen to the show, you already know that we cannot exist without our sponsors. They are the ones who make things happen behind the scenes. So let's acknowledge Fuji Sports. We've been working with these guys for a while now, not only as far as this podcast is concerned, but also at the RŌL Academy. We've had their gear. I personally use their gis. What a phenomenal product.
Yeah, I mean, jiu-jitsu, judo, MMA, tape, bags, anything you need for your jiu-jitsu journey, you can find at fujisports.com.
Let's talk RŌL TV. There's so much content on there. It's ridiculous at this point. But I think what is even more intriguing, as time went on during the project, we've been recording most of the events that were taking place here at RŌL Academy. At this point, I mean, we have guys like Chris Howder, Armin Fati, Rafael Lovato Sr., and Pete the Greek. I mean, there are so many different events that we've kind of recorded it. Don't you think that's amazing? I mean, points of reflection and kind of going back for all the students to see what really happened and refresh their memory.
Yeah, I think it's great, you know, being able to go back and look at all these high-level practitioners, Octavio Cudo, like one of the names you didn't mention. And I mean, just these guys that have been doing this for so long come in, teach these amazing seminars and workshops, and it's all recorded and there for you to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to get additional savings on all this, type in code RŌL Radio at the coupon and get additional 30% off of your membership.
Nice. Go to rolacademy.tv. What's up, everyone, and welcome back. If you haven't already, please remember to hit the like, share, subscribe, download, listen, and whatever other button there is, and leave us a review wherever you do listen. That ensures that we can continue bringing you the great guests and amazing content that you have come to expect. Today's guest considers himself a lucky guy. Many others may not. Gilberto Castro grew up in Mexico under extreme poverty, and most recently he lost his academy this past summer when it was destroyed in the Maui wildfires. Gilberto sees these struggles as what has made him who he is today, and he is here to discuss how his positive attitude and perspective have enriched his life. Here is the RŌL Radio with instructor and owner at Aloha Roll, who at the time of this recording had just held their first fundamentals class in his new Maui academy, Gilberto Castro.
Welcome to RŌL Radio.
And we are live.
Hey.
Another amazing episode.
It's going to be a good one.
And this one is shaping to be phenomenal conversation for many reasons. What a great story, but at the same time, Professor Gilberto, you are in Hawaii. I mean, how much more beautiful can it be? No,
I'm the lucky guy for sure. I am the lucky guy.
We are in Chicago, and yeah, let's just say it's not as beautiful as your view every single morning. And why do you think that you're lucky? You said that you're a lucky guy. Why
Well,
do you feel that you're lucky?
I feel like I am so lucky because everything worked the way they favors me. And even when it looks like it is not, things comes around really good in short periods of times here. Uh, the story I show you one quick story why I feel that I'm the lucky guy. I used to work in the hotel industry, and this person, very wealthy, would come every year, stay in the Ritz-Carlton, and then bring his whole family and everything. And one year, I met him on the breakfast, and then I told him, "Hey, how you doing, Mr. John?" And then he's like, "Doing great. Business again? No, this time I buying a house here." And I'm like, "Wow, what make you take that decision, right?" Very wealthy, late 60s. He traveled the world around, and he's like, "Gilberto, I travel the world. I've been in every country you can imagine. This is the only place in the world that is not destroyed. And then this is the place that I want to retire and live my last 20 years of life. How lucky I am I was only 28 years old and already was in the right place without spending much money.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you bring a good point, right? Where we find ourselves, most of the time we can't control. We are born somewhere, we travel somewhere, we end up somewhere, around this world. And then what we do with it is really the important part, right? And,
Hmm.
what I love about you is that obviously you've been on social media quite a bit in the last few months for not so fortunate, circumstances. And we'll talk about that in a moment, but I can't help myself that you always have a smile on your face. Like you're like the happiest guy in the world. And now that explains it. You're the luckiest guy. You're the luckiest and the happiest guy. And the life is good. Would you say the life is good for you?
I can say that life is pretty good. You compare your start line when I was on my childhood, how my place was in that time, how I grew up in Mexico, where my parents were doing their best and their abilities, but our kitchen room didn't have concrete. It was dirt floor. You know, it, it, we have we had to shower with a bucket, and because we didn't have boilers. We had to boil water on fire to get it to the bathroom. And then how lucky I am right now that I can just turn the key, and everything comes on the temperature that I want to, and then
Does that make you appreciate life a little bit more coming from, not such a fortunate environment? I feel like oftentimes we look around ourselves and depending where we are, but I think a lot of people find reasons to complain when really life is not so bad, is it?
no, it is. I think that, but I don't think this life is bad. Even there, I remember those days gratefully because we were so close in our family. We were like, it's a cultural thing where the Godfather, every Sunday give you a little bit of change for you to buy candies, right? That is the Godfather Mexican culture. My Godfather would give me 20 pesos, but we were so poor that I couldn't buy candy, so I had to give it my mom to buy liver and eggs for us to eat, right? Because and then,
Mhm.
but we were so close, and it was gratefully me giving my candy money to my mom, knowing that that would buy us a meal. So
But that's a lot of pressure on the kid. How old are you talking? How old were you in those
I
moments?
was like probably 7, 8 years old.
I mean, that's enormous pressure on a 7 or 8 year old. No,
No, because this is what makes you who you are.
well, that is
That
true. Well, that
that
is
makes you who
true.
you are. If I was just like, I gotta be a kid, what about my candy and all that? I wouldn't be who I am right now. I
So
would
let
be
me ask you
somebody else.
this. So do you think that childhood back in Mexico and going through some of these struggles made you much stronger to sustain some of the life events that are taking place in your life today?
Definitely. My parents wasn't perfect, and they didn't have all the resources that most people has over here, and they gave me what they could, and then everything was love, you know. But it wasn't a struggle, but that struggle makes me feel, very grateful now for any little detail that I can go. For me to go a restaurant here, in any restaurant in Maui, I see it with a greatness every time I go. I don't see it like, oh, I'm gonna have dinner again. No, every time I go to a restaurant here, I feel that it's a blessing because we didn't go to restaurants back home, you know, and until later, until when we were like 18, 19 is when my parents started working in United States in the border, and then now the income was coming and things changed gradually. I think that was the part where I see the progress of the success after the hard work that makes me who I am right now.
I feel like I know you're describing your life, but I feel like you also describing what jiu-jitsu is all about. Like at the beginning of jiu-jitsu, there was so much struggle. There was so much, and we often have to give things up, even the things that we don't want to, if we don't understand. And then months, if not years later, we really see the fruits. We really see the benefits of the hard work that we've done. Have you noticed that comparison?
It's every day. That is what I tell my students. Anything good will come easy to you. You know, I have students that they've been competing for 2 years, kids, and they compete like 7, 8 times a year, and they haven't won one medal, but they keep coming. I know they're really close to turn around, and when that medal comes around, it's gonna be so much better, so much good, right? And I have the guys. Me. When that first day I did jiu-jitsu, I couldn't keep up with the warm-ups. I could not finish the warm-up. But it's the long-term game where it's like, okay, did we just want to win this battle with this, or we want to really get to the point where we just stay and we don't lose, and we don't not don't lose, but we stay and we know, win or lose, we're gonna come back the next day.
Why do you think so many people struggle with that at the beginning? Why do you think it's so difficult for us to see the benefits of jiu-jitsu and maybe even of life when we are in this difficult moment?
I think we creating soft people at this point. I think it's too much easy things coming to us. It is, we feel like it isn't a standard to have a car. You should have a
Hmm.
car. You should have a phone if you are 11 years old. You should have an iPad. And then when that doesn't happen, it's a heartbreaking, for everybody. You don't know what it is to just hang out with your friends without a device. Uh, or just to have real conversations, right? That goes face to face like this, right? There we are. You guys in Chicago. I don't know. Gary, where are you now?
I'm right across the table from Thomas.
He's right here.
Oh, there you go. Excellent. Both of you. Okay. No wonder the background looks similar.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm in Hawaii, but we're having this face to face conversation, and that what makes it special, right?
Mhm.
I think.
And
I think
I think
that.
I think you bring up something really important. And it's, I'll tell you, it drives me crazy when people want to have full conversation over text message, or even like, I love interacting with people. And I feel like slowly we are losing that human touch almost. It's like there's a lot of assuming that takes place, and people just don't talk to each other. They just don't talk to each other.
It's funny. I have my daughter will be on her device with her friends, and they're talking constantly. But then you put them in a room together,
Silence.
and it gets real quiet. They don't know how to interact for the first 10 minutes or so, and it's like, what do you do when you're on your tablet? Oh, we
Yeah.
talk about this, we talk about that. Well, talk about it now that you're face to face. But it's weird.
This is why we need jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
This is what jiu-jitsu brings everybody together, I think, and it has its own language almost, right? This is what allows us to interact.
I almost lost the contract to this place last week because I was texting with them back and forth. They preferred to text me, and then the conversation started going to the wrong direction. I say, "Can we call for these things?
Yeah.
This is not what I wanted things to go. I
Yeah.
mean this and I mean that. Could we please talk on this?" And it was like, oh, okay. Oh, you was meaning this, yes. Uh, for me, it's so hard because English is my second language, and then typing, I do try, but it's not the best way that I communicate.
Oh, Gary knows. He deals with me, and
Thomas is
English is my second language, and it's terrible. Thankfully, Gary's very understanding.
I know.
Yes.
After years of dealing with it, I've learned just accepting. So when I just wanted to ask,
Yeah.
when you started jiu-jitsu and you went through those same struggles that we all go through when we start, were you conscious of being able, did you know you were going to be able to overcome all this stuff because of your upbringing and what you've been through, or was it natural, like you weren't thinking of it, it's second nature to you?
Well, this is what fascinated me about jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu was about me showing up on the room to get better. Wasn't about who will show up. I wasn't dependent if the brown belt or the big guy or the small guy would show up. Anybody could beat me at that point in time. Anybody, they was there for a month, could beat me up and make. I was beating up myself.
There you are.
Sorry, weather is so good over here. They overhit my phone. Sorry.
No, that's fine. So where did we leave off? You were saying that first month of jiu-jitsu, everybody could beat you up. You didn't care who was in the room. You just knew you needed to be there to get better.
Yes. So that the I never feel like how I made it to overcome and get 18 years later and still practicing jiu-jitsu. I think what the fact that was I knew it was about my own effort in this position. It was about my own effort. Obviously, on the future, I knew the partners and all this will help in this. But at the beginning, my white belt journey, it was about to don't quit and then find my own benefits on this. And the story about why I started jiu-jitsu would not allow me to quit.
Tell us, how did you start jiu-jitsu?
I started dating my life and partner, Linda, 18 years ago. We started like just going out, boom. And one day we were in a restaurant and the ex-boyfriend shows up. And then he's like, I know you were like this guy. He knows that, you know that you with me. I'm like, I know. It's been 6 months since you guys broke out. Get out of here. Right? And then that was it. 2 days later, this guy my brake lines.
Jesus.
Oh, wow. In your car.
Cut it. And I
Wow.
was like a brand new car. It was the first car I ever buy in a dealer, And then,
Where is this? Is this in Mexico? Where's this
oh
happening?
no, this is here.
This is
Maui.
here.
Yes, here in Maui. And
Okay,
then,
so
and
what happens?
I'm literally wake up in the morning. I'm gonna go to work, and then I put my car in reverse and brakes pumping. No forward. No emergency brake. No. I remember I didn't thought about turning the switch off. I just put the in parking, and then luckily wasn't and the baddest part of the story is that behind where my car was parked, it is a stop bus for kids for school.
Oh,
Luckily, I was
yes.
like
Oh,
15 minutes earlier than the kids show up to start getting the bus. I could run over a couple kids that day,
Yeah.
So that got me really mad, right? And then I'm like,
I bet.
I'm gonna confront this person. And then everywhere that I went to ask because I knew certain bars and restaurants that he would hang out. And then I asked somebody there that was, be careful, Gilberto. That person either carry a knife or a gun. Do not mess around with him. And I'm like, okay. And my friend Rob from he's in Florida right now. He's the one that introduced me to Jiu-Jitsu. He asked me, "What's going on? You feel like you're in trouble?" And I told the story, and he told me, "Tell me who is it? Tell me who is it? You see the Cadillac? I have a Cadillac there. That body fits over there." And I said, "No, no, no." You see him? He's like a full in tattoos from toe to
Yeah,
to
he's
the
gonna
head
stuff this
to
guy in the
the toe.
trunk.
Like he's like, yes, he was thinking and put him on the Cadillac, and I said, no, no, no. And then he's like, well, I'm gonna show you something. He took me to the park, and he said, try to pass my guard. I didn't know what to pass the guard was in that point, but I told him, man, I'm 250 pounds, and then you are like what, 165, 160 maybe, and he just wrapped me like a Praxo in minutes, in seconds. Top me up, knee bar, toho, choke me, name it. Triangle choke, armbar me, everything I could. I was like, and then this little guy was all over me, and then I'm like, God. And I think I lost like 2 minutes when I said, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. You good? And then, okay, I'm gonna take you to this place with Professor Luis Herrera. He said we're very lucky to have him. He he trains with Hickson Gracie. And this time I didn't know much about all the lineage and stuff. But I said, take me anywhere. They're going to show me what you do to me. And that was the reason I couldn't quit, right? I knew in one moment I would need it for sure. 10 years later, right? 10 years later, this gentleman, I don't know if he's a gentleman, but this guy uh, started harassing my girlfriend again. 10
Wow,
years
okay.
later, right? And then I see him on Starbucks. And I just want to talk to him and say, hey man, it's been 10 years. What's going on? And then he just look at me and start like, no, I don't want to talk to you, blah, blah. And sadly, he faced me. And I said, okay, can we just talk and tell me what we can do here? Because it's been 10 years. I'm sure if Linda wants to come back with you, she will come back to you. But you steal it from me and whatever. And I said, look, you better just calm down on this. And he starts swearing to me. And I told him, you've been following us on social media. You know what I do for a living. You better just take your step back. He got quiet, walk away, and that was the last time I heard from him.
Wonderful. There you
I
go.
didn't
You
need
didn't even
that.
have to do anything.
Nothing.
Jiu-jitsu changes lives. What a story! I mean, it's almost mind blowing as you describing all of this. One, the car, and two, all these confrontations. And do you think that's one of the things that jiu-jitsu changes our lives in the sense of not only teaches us how to defend ourselves, but also teaches us how to react in these high stress situations? Because many people who don't know jiu-jitsu, they would probably react very differently than what you have. Don't you agree?
Yes. My philosophy in our community here in Aloha Roll, when the parents come and say, hey, I have my kid is being bullied in school and this and that, he needs to know how to defend himself. I tell them, look, we will teach him how to defend himself, but we will mainly, that is going to be just an excuse for shape his character.
Yeah.
We're going to build a different kid out of this, and he will be more like confident to look somebody in the eye and then having a conversation than fighting, because he know what he can do if somebody touch him or grab him or pull him or push him. But he will have more than that. He will have the ability to have a conversation. Every time that I finish my lineup, I tell the kids, give me eye contact and a smile. Fist bumps. Eye contact and a smile. Fist bumps. We talk, we always do eye contact. It's
Mhm.
all. It's because I learned that in life. Doesn't matter who they are. If it's the GM of the hotel or the dishwasher or the guy that does banquets, but if you pay attention to them and then you look them in the eye, you get their attention and they take you serious. And then that is what I believe that every student, women's, kids, adults, is what they're gonna gain in our community. Confidence and communicating.
I love this. I can't, like, I'm making notes as you're talking about this, and I'm on like fourth page already. That there's so much little things that you talk about, and they have such a big impact on all of us as a life. You talked about the beginning of your jiu-jitsu. Do you remember your very first day when you stepped on the mat?
Yes, I remember that day for
Well,
sure.
walk me through that day, but tell me like everything. How did it feel? Oftentimes, jiu-jitsu is very unique experience for everybody, and everybody has their own story. Tell me that morning you wake up. How did it go? What's happening?
Well, after the park session, right, my friends told me, we're going to take you to the academy, and it's going to be on Friday. I remember it was a Friday morning. And say, just drink water, Gil, and then make sure you don't eat too much because, things can happen, right? So I listened to everything what he said. I remember not having breakfast, and then just coffee, and then I remember I have a gallon of water with me, and then it's like a hour and 15 minutes from Lahaina to Haiku, and no, sorry, Kahului. Kahului is where Professor Luis has his first academy. We go to Kahului. It is like an hour drive, and by the time I got to Kahului, I already have half of the gallon, kind of drink it, and I'm like, I'm on. I'm hydrated. I am hydrated, and shit. I remember the front roll. What? I remember doing hog door rolls instead of front rolls. I couldn't roll over my head. I was panicking about that. Back rolls, never mind. I remember sitting down and I was like, oh no. And then the crab walkings, my hands, my elbows feel like they're gonna break, And I'm like, gosh, and then tramping and bumping. I don't know what is that, I was like just dragging myself backwards, and by the time the warm up, I remember they were like not even half the warm up, and the warm up was only like 10 minutes. I say, I need water. See you guys later, and I sit down on the side. I sit down on the side, you know, and I watch everybody doing cartwheels and then leg throughs and everybody in Hawaii is so athletic. Those stinkers, they all have six packs, surfers, I was the fat guy out of shape over there. And then okay, we got to the instructional side, and I remember very well. First class, they teach a knee bar from half guard, and then okay, knee bar from half guard. I don't know what it was, and then I just trying. Now it's my favorite move, right? But at that time, no idea about kinetic movements of jiu-jitsu, and and they say, well, now we're gonna spar, Gilberto. I'm like, what is that? Yes, now we're gonna go. We're gonna go. And then what are you supposed to do? Are you just gonna go? Okay, I'm gonna go. In my instance, I remember I was running with a blue belt, and then he would pull guard, and I'm like, I'm gonna grab his head, and instantly I tried to do a can opener, and every time I threw the can opener, it was an armbar. He armbarred me like 4 times, and I tried so hard that 2 minutes in, I quit. I quit. And then I see them rolling for the last 28 minutes, because the rolling was 30 minutes. And I just sit down on the side, feel defeated, and then challenge.
What's going through your mind? So like you obviously this is a lot of unknown, and I think a lot of students feel the same way. Like we watch jiu-jitsu and it looks simple. Jiu-jitsu looks simple. There's two guys there doing something, right? And trying to beat each other up essentially, right? And then like you are inside their guard and you're trying to do can opener, and then you get armbarred every single time you try it. What is going through your mind at that moment?
This is not fair. This is not fair. I'm the strongest guy in the room, and I'm being defeated. I'm being defeated for technique the unknown, and then I was I was really challenged about, because I was back in the days when I was a teenager. I was part of a gang in Mexico, and when we street fight, like literally street fight, I remember get somebody in a headlock and put him to sleep in a headlock. So I'm like, I'm a fighter. I'm Street Fighter. How come I'm getting defeated here?
Do you think about coming back at that moment, or do you think about quitting?
No, I was so challenged about it. I'm like, I'm gonna learn this, and then they're gonna see me coming. They're gonna see me coming every Friday because I start with 1 day a week, and then I did it for a month. And my professor told me, Gilberto, you want to get better? Yes, you gotta come 2 times a week. 2 times a week, okay. And then I add Thursdays to the Fridays.
So you're driving 2 hours a day to get your training in.
Yes, do that. 1 hour that way, hour and a half of training, an hour back. So it's pretty much half of your day over there. And when he moved to Haiku, it was hour and 20 minutes. And I used to, what I used to do to make my days off worth it for jiu-jitsu is train in the morning, uh, and then go to town, watch a movie, eat, and then go back to the fundamental and the dance class at night, and then come back home around 9 p.m. And my partner in life, Linda, she put up with that for 12 years. On my days off, I would just dedicate myself to jiu-jitsu.
I mean, that's mind-blowing. That's mind-blowing. Today, I feel like 15, 20 minutes is too far away. I feel like students find all these reasons that life is hard, that training is hard, I can't make it. And like some of them are legit reasons. There's truth to some of that, right? But you are talking about hour and 20 minutes each way. That's almost 3 hours is in just a commute, just in a car.
Mm-hmm.
And then plus hour and a half of training. You literally, your entire day is jiu-jitsu. And she doesn't kick you out of the house.
She didn't. I compensate with other things. I dedicate myself the best I could on the half days hours that we had.
Mind-blowing. I mean, you are an inspiration. You're for more than one reason, but that story on its own, like we should play it to all the married guys that we have. Is how do you figure this out, right?
Well,
Go ahead.
I think the reason why she put up with me is because she used to kickbox before, and that gave her. She was the first professional kickboxer from Lahaina, from Maui, woman. Back in the day, she used to train, and then she used to do the same. She used to go to the same town where jiu-jitsu was, but she was going there for boxing and kickboxing.
So
and she's a kids instructor now, right?
Yes, she's a kicks instructor.
Yeah,
that's
awesome.
Yeah, she didn't care much about jiu-jitsu. They will tell you, 12 years doing that. Belt promotions come from my black belt. She didn't show up. She was like,
what? Wait a minute. All right, let's talk about that for a second. First of all, do you know the black belt is coming?
Yes. Well, she told me, you're gonna get promoted. Professor Luis it is a gamble. I don't know. They're gonna give belts. I'm doing the self-defense tests. I'm getting tested because that's how Professor Luis does. He grabbed the book, the Halo book, and he's like, Gilberto, defend the knife. And he goes with the knife, and then you do the defense, right? And I've been practicing for 6 months to get that routine down to the tip, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, because when he's how things go, he tells you, I think it's time for you to take your test. And then you're going to demonstrate on belt promotions. And right then, I'm going to take a decision, see if you deserve it or not.
Yeah. No pressure.
No pressure. Right? And then, okay, that is how Hickson did it to me. And then you're going to do it.
So how did it go? I mean, obviously, success was there, but how does it go? What's going in your mind when you are testing through all of this? And first of all, so she doesn't show up for this at all?
No, she didn't show
Why
up.
not?
She's like, you don't know if you're gonna get it. She's like, okay.
She needed a guarantee.
Oh, there you go. So
Oh,
how's the test? So how did the test go? What's in your mind? You're going through this routine. You've been training for 6 months to get this ready for this.
I did it successfully. I had the best partner ever. And my partner, that was the same guy with the tattoos, Rob Westfalls. Him and I, we got the black belt at the same time. We got it together, and then we were training like for 6 months, 3 times a week, maybe 4 times a week, about an hour every time, And then we got it. Like we knew exactly where the knife and the clubs were coming from. The chokes defense, the wall against, the sliding one side, other side, the headlocks, escapes. We got it. I remember one guy, they was doing the test. We were outside practicing in the hallway, and like, hey man, can you guys help me? What do you mean? You haven't practiced it? I practiced last week. I'm like, oh no.
Well,
Yeah,
listen, it is.
yeah, like
So
I
so
hope you.
your test goes well,
Uh-huh.
and then do you get your black belt immediately afterwards?
Yes. In the end, he after we finish, right? He promotes everybody, and they'll have the people that he's gonna test. And then I remember he's a guy that flew twice from San Diego. It was his student, and twice he was like, not ready. And then he would just,
Wow.
yes, and
Wow.
yes, and it was like, this is why I didn't know. I didn't
Yeah.
know. I didn't know. It was, yes.
So
It's,
okay, so the black belt is getting tied around you.
yes.
What's in your mind? Happy, surprised, pressure, responsibility? What's going through your head?
I think it was, I should say, responsibility, right? It's like one more key on your keychain, right? Now, the more keys you have in your keychain, that means that you have more responsibilities. The more doors to open and close and all that. That was like one more key on the keychain. And then by then, I already was teaching uh, twice a week in Lahaina to a small program that we were starting, and having the black belt definitely brought up a little bit more responsibility to my life, and on the sense of, okay, now I'm representing something to a certain group of people, very specific, and a lot of people don't, and most people in the world would don't know what that means, right? A black belt, but
Why do you feel that there is so much responsibility behind the black belt?
well, I feel that responsibility of the black belt comes to your commitment, especially if you are an instructor. If you're
Mm-hmm.
dedicated to teach and you have a community that it is uh, putting their faith of their kids on what you gonna teach to them, right? I
Mm-hmm.
realized that with one story. I remember speaking my English the way I speak it, and then one of the parents was like, Gilberto, my kids speak Spanglish now.
uh,
I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. I was like, that right there kicks me out. I'm like, okay, everything I say it have an impact now on the people that is listening.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have one. I have four fundamental basics for academy. Strong values for academy. It is be on time, be clean, be nice to your partners, and be tired after class. And I'm very strong on the first one, right? I'm very strong on the first one. I have kids that have arguments with the parents, serious arguments, where the kid is, no, I cannot be late. And then I have parents comment like, Gilberto, you gotta talk to my kid. I finished at this time from work, and the only time I can bring him is this time. And he is very upset for him getting late to class because B number one is be on time. I'm like, oh, and I
We need some
smile
more of
and
that
say,
here.
I'm proud of him. But don't worry, I'm gonna speak to him and I'm gonna let him know that the mom finished at certain times, and I'll allow him to came 2 minutes late, or the time, whatever it is.
Well, but let me ask you this: when we are brown belt and we train and we work hard, and the next day we get rewarded a black belt, many consider that the black belt has by far more weight, or we have more responsibility the moment we are the black belt. But it's only a 1 day difference. Like a day ago, we were a brown belt, and sometimes I hear instructors talk about this, or even students talk about this, and the responsibility on a brown belt is not as great as it is on a black belt. But yet, nothing really changed, did it?
Nothing. I find out that on that note, it takes more weight as the oldest you guys are, as the oldest we get. Like, you can give a black belt to a 30-year-old and it's like a yes, an achievement. You try to give a 40-year-old black belt. No, not yet, please, please. No, I'm not ready. I am not ready.
There's a lot of truth behind that. There is a lot of truth behind that.
I don't represent what you telling me right now. I'm like, you've been a brown belt for 3 or 4 years, dude. This is time. Sorry, but kindergarten is over. Time to go.
I love it. I love it. But listen, there, all these little things that you talk about, it's just a testimonial that you have created a great community. You have created a great team, great community, and the group of people that you have as students and as an instructor. I mean, it's growing quite a bit. And I think one of the interesting points behind community is the fact that when hardship comes, when things are not easy, they come together. And in recent times, well, that community was tested. And in recent times, the patience and the love and the cohesiveness, the glue was really tested on your within your community, right? And I think everybody knows the story as to what happened, but let's just kind of summarize this. But more importantly, I really would love to hear from you. What was in your mind when you find out that your academy is gone? I would love to know what happened that day, from a sense of everything that everybody has worked for now has to be rebuilt. Talk to me about this a little bit.
I I had the opportunity to walk down the second day. Most of the people, they haven't walked down towns even now, never, right? Uh, we were looking for one of my wife's cousins and his wife, and we were desperately looking for them because we know their closest family was my in-laws. So they will go to my in-laws' house that we live up north on the city of on town here. And he didn't show up, right? On the first day, he didn't show up on the second day. And we were like, okay, I think it's time to go see uh, if any chance that he jumps in the ocean or what. Look for a sign. So we walked down, and then by then already we didn't have phone services or internet for like 2 weeks. So the only videos that I saw is people, they got motorcycles, their bikes, walk through town, take videos, pass it on, and all that, right? And people tell me, oh, Pizza Hut is gone. I'm like, oh, Pizza Hut is in front of the academy. That means the academy mine didn't make it, and I was thinking, oh, the academy is built all concrete. It's built all concrete. Unfortunately, what happened with that building is the roof was wood. So when the ambers came in, destroyed the whole building. And it's some pictures up, and they will put up there on social media. But I remember do the search for our cousin over there, and the scene didn't look good. We find their car uh, totally burned in the middle of Lahaina Luna Road, that is pretty much the mid part of town, and then one tree and top. So we didn't see any good signals there or signs. And after that, we walked through where the academy used to be, and man, I looked the building. Uh, I don't know, but I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel any attached to that, because at this point I was looking for somebody that we care for it, for their lives. That was the most precious things that you can imagine. At this point, all the material stuff that we have and we work so hard for it is just a game. It's just a game. Uh, it reminds me, I'm going to jump to something. I'm not very religious. I'm not religious at all, but I remember one time I listened to a pastor talking story about uh, Jacob's book. He just wrote the book. This guy was tested right, left. They gave him, oh, he was rich. He had family. Everything was taken from him. And the guy didn't break. He was he was obviously asking himself what I did wrong or whatever, but he never went to God and say, I hate you for what you're doing to me right now. So every time I lost, or I break a car, or I lost my wallet, well, I just thinking that guy. I'm like, that guy had a lot. Lose everything and never turn into God and say, hey, I hate you for what you're doing to me. When I look my building, I was like, I did it once, I can do it 10 more times. You know, that is not important. What is important is my students' lives, my family lives. Everybody that was really close to me was in my house. It was 7 people in my 750 square foot apartment with 4 dogs, and then we were happy to be alive. That is what really comes down to all this. And and after that, it was like, okay. I remember 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later passed by, and then we start like, okay, let's see where we can relocate this place, how we can start again. And then people keeps asking me for create you GoFundMe and all that stuff. And then all the support start coming, the phone calls, and that jiu-jitsu community, every visitor, they came to our academy, send us a message, send us money, send us connections to somebody that could help us. People did like a rash guard project, and other people do like a lot of them did like seminars. They did open mats, and then all that coming, it was overwhelming. Overwhelming. I stick to a plan that one of my friends got me said, Gilberto, is about people, plan, execution. It's very simple. People, plan, execution. And I'm like, okay, I have the right people on my side here. I have the whole community from United States, Jiu-Jitsu, looking after us. And then we just gotta put a good plan, right? We're gonna get to put up a good plan, and we gotta work towards that plan. And then, man, where we are right now today, first fundamental class.
I was about to say, I mean, and this is complete coincidence that so it happens that we are recording it today, but today you did have a first official fundamentals class at your new location. and it has to feel good. I mean, even though the building is more symbolic than anything else, but yet that's the place where we gather together. That's the place where your community connects. And today you did have the first class, so it has to feel good inside, like it has to, doesn't it?
It does. It does, it is it's unique because literally few weeks before everything happened, I realized something. I told my students in every class for a week. It is not the building. I know this building is beautiful. We have worked hard to make it look the way it looks, but this is not the academy. The academy is you, is the people. It is the students. It is the parents that do the commute to drive their kids from school, from activity to activity. And that is the goal. It is the community, is the culture of help each other out. That is the academy. And with that vision, I say, okay, we can put ourselves in any other building. We did it in the backyard for a couple months, and it was great. You know, it was great. Rain a couple times on us. It was good. It was good.
Man, I can't even telling this story. You keep smiling. I mean, this is, I so appreciate your sunshine, because that's what you are. You're just so happy and so yeah, it's hard not to smile talking to you, and I gotta tell you that. More often than not, difficult times like the tragedy that took place gives us a point of reflection, and it gives us moments where we sit down quietly without the chaos anymore, and we think about the things that we learned, the things that took place, the the life lessons. If there was one that comes to your mind in the last few months as all of this was unfolding, is there one that you would like to share with us today, and one thing that really stays
So,
in your mind?
yes, I think when tragedy happens, you want full fix immediately, right? You think you're gonna walk through McDonald's and then get your meal and then eat it and then I'm done. Same thing. We want to. I find a location for you guys tomorrow. Yes, I did. And somebody donate mats and we're gonna have it. We're gonna start. Yes, next week. Everybody wants that. Everybody look for it. And then even when with the pain, right? With the tragedy too, we want that to pass fast, to make it. But I think even that part, the healing, it have to get their own time to make it happen. And then cannot be 50% next day. It cannot be even 10% next day. But it could be a 1% better than next day. The 1% is achievable. And I'm true believer that if we do just 1% every day and anything that we choose to get better, eh, by the end of the year, 360% better.
I love it. I love it. We've been at this for nearly an hour, and before we start wrapping this up, what we do at the end of every episode, we have a question from our previous guest, but he had no idea that you will be answering the question, so he completely asked the question in dark and completely dark and blind. Gary's going to take a lead on this.
Yeah.
And
so after all that heavy stuff we just talked about, this will lighten it up. So this is from Miko Hytonen, and he wants to know, is it okay to wrist lock white belts?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
That was short to the point.
Yep.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
But on that front, is there anything that you don't teach white belts? Is there anything that you feel that they shouldn't know?
I I actually today when we were before the podcast, I was telling them why we teaching leg locks not to white belts. I wait until was a brown belt to start learning leg locks.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Same.
half of my body. It's half of your body. Even for self defense, you should know leg locks. You should know legs go the same way that you should know how to take down somebody, and the same way that you should know how to choke somebody. You should know the leg locks. Very fundamental ones. You don't need to be all
Fancy.
crazy, fancy, but you should know how to do a heel hook and recognize a heel hook. So when that happen, and then I think this is a process. The way that I like to teach them those difficult techniques is like, okay, we're just gonna practice today these techniques, and then that day you're gonna have 30 seconds to make it happen, but only that technique. It's gonna be so hard for them to achieve it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be super hard in 30 seconds, right? Because the other person know that he's gonna do that technique
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, uh, but that gives us a good awareness on recognizing what is coming and learning now instead of waiting into the brown belt or purple belt, whatever some of the rules for some schools are. I told them on the street is going to be no federation. It will be no referees.
That's right.
And
That's right. You can't say, hold on, don't do this. No.
wrist lock the
On the
white
street
belt.
is happening. Yeah.
Wrist lock the white belt because
Yeah.
he needs to know what it feels like.
That's right. That's right. But you're talking about something really important, right? Learning a technique in jiu-jitsu, that's one thing. But knowing how to recognize that technique that is coming at you, that's completely something else. Our brain works differently, right?
Mm.
Having an attack versus having a defense, and now recognize it, act accordingly. So those are the skills that take time. They really do.
Mhm.
Professor, I don't have words to describe how much I appreciate you being here. Your story is so mind-blowing and so inspiring. I really do thank you for the last hour of your time, sharing your childhood to some of the crazy stuff that happened to you. And more importantly, I do want to say congratulations on your first class at your new location. It is mind-blowing that the achievement of the community, the cohesiveness that you have created. If anybody wants to connect with you, anybody wants to find you, what's the easiest way? You're pretty popular these days, but if anybody wants to talk to you, where can they find you?
Social media is on Aloha Roll Academy. Instagram is probably the easiest. I check those text messages like every 30 minutes. So it's all it takes as much as it takes the regular phone. So I think social media is gonna be the best, and it gives me the time sometimes when I'm teaching to come back and have time for make it happen. But I answer every message in social media, and especially on Instagram. Instagram will be Aloha Roll Academy Instagram.
Well, I appreciate you answering because that's how we got connected. So,
Yep.
what a great conversations, Gary.
Yeah, I am fortunate enough to a couple times a month at least. I get to see Gilberto on Friday mornings, and not in person, unfortunately. But what you see today is Gilberto, right? I've been in these meetings for a few months now, and from day one, it was like, okay, this guy is something special. And I what you've gone through and what you're putting back and giving to the community over there is truly amazing. So all I can say is thank you for being here, and thank you for what you're doing out there.
I can say I am so honored for this invitation, Thomas, Gary. Thank you for putting me on this list over here. I I feel like we find a purpose over here in Lahaina, and then we want to share the story. This is it, This is what we do in Lahaina, and this is our purpose.
Well, I'm hoping that both of us, Gary and I, we get to visit you one day. I mean, I would love to. Hopefully, I would love to. But if if you are ever in Chicago area, please let me know. I would love to have you in my academy. Just being in your presence would be a huge honor. So, congratulations on everything. Congratulations on bringing your community back together. Congratulations on the new building. Congratulations on the new class. And
that first class.
that first class is important. And we'll be sitting back and watching as you continue growing.
So much.
Let's wrap this up
All
for
right.
today.
Peace.
Thank you for listening to RŌL Radio. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review and help us make the show even more amazing. For future episodes, check out our website and follow us on all major podcast platforms. Take care.